Okay, so this is I guess picking up right where we left off with the last episode, in a way. So, how's everyone doing today, guys? My name's C. Cones, and this is Amphibia, episode 27A, Scavenger Hunt. Fun little episode, and nice little background as to how Anne and Marcy kind of work together, and at the same time you see, the last episode they really showed how Marcy is very clumsy, but at the same time she has proven to be probably the best of the three when it comes to the world that they're in. And this episode focuses more on the brains of Marcy, how she is she can solve pretty much any puzzle. She is super smart. And even like Holly and Sprig each kind of admit, like, if Marcy was the one that we found instead of Anne, and of course Anne feels hurt by it and is rather jealous of the fact that Marcy is super smart, because for Anne, she is more of a people person, which she soon realizes as the episode goes on, because they're sent on the scavenger hunt by the king, which at first I wasn't entirely sure why they're doing that. Why would the king send them on a scavenger hunt? Considering the fact of how the last episode ended with him, ended with him saying, like, our second piece has come, now we can finally set things in motion. So with all that, it really makes me wonder how he works. And we haven't even met him yet. I mean, Anne, the Planters and Anne haven't met him yet. Marcy's met him, and judging by how she reacts to the message, it seems to be a normal thing that he does. With all that said, I'm guessing he plays it as like an act. Maybe he's this nice, happy king on the to the people, but he's secretly this tyrannical, evil person who's been plotting something. I'm guessing that's what this is, unless something else happens. I don't know. It's Keith David. This guy can pull off being charming, but very sinister, as he's proved in Princess of the Frog. But so yeah, so Marcy gets a message from the king, and it's a puzzle that they have to solve in order to figure out what the message of the king is. And as I said before, Anne, wanting to prove that she can be as smart as Marcy, tries to one-up Marcy in each location they go to. So the first clue is they're in this little forest in the city area. They're in this park in the city, and Anne's trying to figure out the first clue, but Marcy quickly cracks it. It's weird, because the way they do the scavenger hunt is it's a scroll that has 3 images, and each image is a piece to the puzzle. So the first image that they have is a tree, with 2 eyes, one closed, one open, and they're stacked like this. It's not like the eyes like this. It's weird. So Marcy somehow, I say somehow, but it's pretty freaking obvious. It's the statue in the middle of the park with the guy holding the telescope. It's like, okay, obviously there's something behind the guy's statue that you have to look into. So Marcy jumps on that and figures out the first clue, which is bring. Yeah, it's a weird puzzle. So as she goes to run off to the next clue, Anne notices a little girl has her pet caterpillar stuck in a tree. So Anne quickly goes up to the top of the tree, gets the caterpillar down, and gives it to the kid. And it was at that moment where I'm like, okay, I know where they're going with this, and obviously kind of the thing with this episode is not everyone is gonna have, everyone's gonna have that one person, friend, that is better than them in something, but that doesn't always make you yourself less superior to them, because we all have our own strengths that make us who we are. For Anne, it's being a people person. As we've seen in the show, she's really good at connecting with people. Whereas Marcy, as we've seen, she's really intelligent. She knows how to get out of sticky situations. She knows how to solve some puzzles. And yeah, I mean, she herself can connect with people, but when compared to Anne, she isn't exactly, you know, natural with it. You know, for some people, I can imagine people would automatically not like Marcy because she would be more towards, like, interesting facts and stuff. Like, I mean, she, like, that was the thing, like, some of her dialogue is just her spitting out some facts or explaining something, whereas Anne is more of just being hyper and, like, trying to help people, and while also just connecting with them, and I like that. I really like that. All right, so back to the puzzle. So the second clue is this. So they go to the library, and I swear to freaking God, when they were there, like, so the image is a library with arrows, and on the left arrow it says W. So I'm like, okay, so it's something west. And Anne and Marcy, Marcy and Sprig, they're all standing there looking, and they're like, what could the W mean? And I'm like, frickin' west! Like, frickin' west! It pissed me. Oh, it was so annoying. I'm like, west, west, west. Someone say west! And eventually, Marcy figures it out, but I was just sitting here watching the episode. I'm like, it's freaking west. It's something west. Like, seriously, it could be like the west side of the building. And it turns out it actually was the west side of the building. Like, the west side of the building, Marcy notices that the left side of the building, the way that the bricks are kind of cracked and stuff, it's apparently the layout of the city. I don't know how does that work? I don't know how that works. I mean, she figures out the second clue all the while Anne took the scroll and tried to find someone who likes puzzles, and she finds this old lady. And at first I thought it was gonna be her sitting there, and it was gonna be the classic old lady tells a super long story, boring, which would lead to Anne being bored out of her mind. But this time around, she's actually into it. She's very into the conversation. In fact, when Marcy and Sprig show up and say, hey, we figured out the second clue, we gotta get moving, Anne is like, oh, I'm super sorry, I gotta get going, I hope you're, and they're like, no, it was fun talking to you. It's like, it was cool. I mean, maybe I like that. I like the multiple layers of that conversation, because again, it kind of shows the growth that Anne is having throughout the series. Whereas, because beforehand, when she would have a conversation with an old person, which was arguably usually hop, she would be bored out of her mind. But this time around, she was very into it. She actually was like engaged with the conversation. So a nice little detail there. So the third clue is something about a bridge, or at least that's what Marcy thinks. It's something about a bridge, because they go to this one bridge where this is so ridiculous, because Anne tries to, you know, she's like, you know what, no, that's Marcy's thing. I mean, she's smart, but it's not like she's being praised for the intelligence she has. They literally show up to this bridge, and there's a freaking statue of Marcy right smack dab in the middle of it. And they're like, wait, what? And Marcy's like, oh yeah, I helped them figure out the correct calculations and angles and all this stuff, and the structure to have a perfect support bridge. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So they put this statue on the freaking bridge, so Anne's like, okay. So in the moment she tries to, or actually no, she doesn't try to help Marcy, she just goes off and tries to. She connects with this nacho lady who doesn't really give the best advice. I mean, she's nice, she's charming, she's a person I think you could talk to, but the advice she gives Anne is like, if you want to be something like another person, then if you can't actually do it, then fake it. And I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing this, right? So Anne takes that the wrong way, and she goes back to Marcy and Sprig, and so she tries to figure out the clue, and so she tries to fake it, and a series of events leads to them in the sewers with this oddly charming alligator that doesn't talk but is terrifying at the same time. So they go into the sewers, which is nice and clean, by the way, and Marcy's like, oh yeah, I helped them with that problem too. And it turns out the alligator that lives in the sewers eats up all the waste, and by the looks of it, it's looking pretty healthy, so I guess in terms of the alligator in this world, it's not exactly, but it looks very charming, looks very cute-ish. It kind of looks more creepy than cute. And like it sees Marcy, Sprig, and Anne, and obviously it's like, So the alligator starts chasing them, and Marcy and Sprig have to escape through the manhole cover, but it's too heavy. But luckily it's right near the nacho lady's stand, so the nacho lady hears them, comes to help. Then, next thing you know, the old lady and the kid that Anne helped, they both also come by and notice, so they go, and since it's Anne that's in danger, they go to help, and eventually Hop Pop and Polly, by the way, the entire episode is Hop Pop and Polly at this burger shop, because they like said, Hop Pop, it's like, oh, well, if you eat this many sandwiches, you'll get the discounts. And so apparently Hop Pop needed to eat a certain amount of burgers to get his own armor. And it just says, like, burger armor or something on the front. Like, I mean, it's legitimately, it looks pretty good, solid, but I mean, who knows if this armor will come into play, or I don't know. So, they come in as well, and eventually everyone is saved. And Anne in the moment confesses to Marcy, or no, like, Sprig, Polly, and Hop Pop all, like, blow the whistle, basically, that Anne was doing all this because she was jealous of Marcy. And so the two, and like I said, Anne, confesses that she always feels less superior to Marcy because Marcy's so smart, but like I said, they each have their strengths, and even Marcy admits that she's kind of jealous of how much of a people person Anne is with others, and I don't know, are these two gonna become a couple? I mean, again, I think it's just freaking Lumini from Owl House stuck in my head, and like now I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, are they gonna? I'm not against it. I'm not against them being together. Honestly, I think they would be pretty good together. I just don't want it to feel too forced in with them, because again, they're friends. Right now, it's a friendship, and if they grow closer together, I would get it, but I don't want it to feel too forced or rushed. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if they do eventually end up together, I am down for it. I just hope it's done good. And I hope it's not held off until the final episode. That's the other rule. Like, that needs to be like an act or a constitution or amendment for freaking TV shows. Like, Valith must not have LGBTQ representation in the final episode. Must be done prior. Or, yeah, actually, yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, maybe tweak it a bit, because I can imagine, would it be funny if, like, one show just, like, okay, well, we can't have it in the final episode, we'll have it in the penultimate episode, then the final episode, so that way we can say, well, we didn't put it in the final episode, we put it in the episode before, so ha ha ha, yeah, that would be stupid, but, Alright, so yeah, Marcy, and then it turns out that the final clue was actually at the nacho stand. Like, Anne holds up one of the nachos and notices that it's the exact same, it's in the exact same shape of the image of the scroll on the scroll, and they figure out that it's the final clue is at the nacho stand, and so the message is, bring me the planters. Interesting. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I was waiting for guards to surround them in the moment and be like, yeah, we were just waiting for that cue. It's like, bring me the planters. Okay. But no, they go to the king, or they are heading to the king. They just, so. And that probably means in the next episode, we're gonna finally meet the king. I'm just calling him Keith David right now. King Keith David. Let's go with that and see how that goes. But yeah. Overall, I thought this was a fun episode. I can see the filler in this one because, they could have easily gone into the kingdom, gone straight to the king, and gone this whole meet up with the king, talk about box shtick like that. I mean, honestly, yeah, it could have been done like that, but you need your pacing, you need your understandable, 20 episodes in a season, you need to pace it out. I don't mind it. I mean, again, if you're able to do it and have fun with it while also showing some of the sides of the characters, which they did. Like I said, they showed what Anne's strengths are and Marcy's strengths are. Well, it wasn't too forced, I put in quotes, because it's like, it's like, wow, Marcy's really, really smart. What about you, Anne? But again, that's kind of one of the strengths. That's one of the things the show is clever of using. Like, even though there are situations where they have something forced, they acknowledge it. I mean, it's not like super forced, and they don't really emphasize, or they don't really acknowledge that fact. It's like if something is forced, they acknowledge the fact because because they have to in a way. So yeah. Okay. Alright, that was episode 27A, Scavenger Hunt. Hope you guys enjoyed, and see you in the next one.